you do something first and break through, that's what stays with us. Why are we still talking about Christopher Columbus? We talk about Christopher Columbus because he got there first. And thousands of people have now climbed Mount Everest and run the 4-minute mile. It ain't nothing but the guy who did it first. And the woman who swam the English Channel first, faster than any man. You can't ever take it away from him. There's always guys winning games. There's always people winning championships. But those people did something that nobody else had ever done before in the history of humankind. And that matters.
This is the story about the pioneers of the 20th century. A few men and women who looked at what most people thought was impossible and tried to make it possible. Some took to the skies, and on December 17, 1903, the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville, proved to the world that man could fly. Others looked to the land, and on April 6, 1909, Commander Robert Peary reached the North Pole. One woman took to the seas and carved a permanent place in history, a feat that amazed the world. Her name, Gertrude Ederle. She was born on October 23, 1906, in New York City, the daughter of a German butcher. It was a time of social change in the United States. Women were demanding the same rights as men, including the right to vote. The women's suffrage movement believed that women could stand equally with men, whether it be in politics, the sciences, arts, or athletics. Their long fight was rewarded when the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote, was ratified in 1920. It was around this time that 13-year-old Trudy, as she was affectionately called, joined the Women's Swimming Association of New York with her older sister Margaret. It was here that Gertrude Ederle started swimming competitively.
My mother was the better swimmer because she was a year and a half older. But when my Aunt Trudy, it was obvious that she was going to be the better swimmer, my mother became her biggest booster. Didn't resent it at all. Well, Aunt Trudy would get an application for a swimming race and throw it in the circular file, so to speak. So my mother used to intercept these applications, fill them out, and send them in without Trudy even knowing. So that way, she just was constantly pushing her to do her best.
Over the next 3 years, Gertrude Ederle sets 18 world records in various distances. In 1924, she is named to the United States Olympic swimming team that will compete in Paris.
My sister Margaret urged me on to all my competition. I said, "Oh, Margaret, I can't do this, I can't." She says, "You can do it, Trudy."
July 5th, 1924, the opening day ceremony of the Paris Olympic Games. Marching with the United States team is 17-year-old Gertrude Ederle. She will swim in 3 events, the 100 and 400 meter freestyle, and as a member of the women's 4x100 meter freestyle team. One of Ederle's concerns is that the women swimmers will be housed 3 hours from Paris. In her 3 events, she wins 1 gold and 2 bronze medals.
I know she probably thought she was going to get 3 gold medals, and she didn't, and a whole lot of things happened. She told me the reason that happened was the day of the swim. They were transporting them in buses. She had a long trip, and by the time she got there, she was cramped and couldn't do her best.
Gertrude puts her disappointing Olympic performances behind her and begins competing in longer and more challenging distances. With her success in these longer competitions, she sets her sights on another goal: to become the first woman to swim across the English Channel. The English Channel is a body of water that separates England from France. The shortest point is 21 miles between Cap Gris-Nez, France, and Dover, England. These cold waters are subject to powerful currents, choppy waves, and fog. It is also brimmed with jellyfish, some with powerful stingers. Before Ederle, only 5 men had successfully completed the swim. Captain Matthew Webb was the first in 1875.
The English Channel is a very unpredictable area. You've got all the North Sea weather patterns colliding, and it really is a big funnel, and any little bit of wind just gets exaggerated across that little bit of stretch of water. But the most dangerous part of swimming the Channel is the cold. I mean, 95% of the failures are down to the cold or other related issues, basically.
I'll be the first one to admit that I was not a good cold water swimmer. I did not like being in the English Channel, even for training. Just used to swear at it and spit on it, and wish that it was the bane of my existence as a distance swimmer. So when I hear people do it, I don't care how slowly they make it across. I'm a fan already.
In the summer of 1925, with funding from the Women's Swimming Association, Gertrude Ederle travels to Europe to attempt the swim. Her sister Margaret, recently married, will not accompany her. She is coached by Jabers Wolfe, who unsuccessfully tried more than 20 times to make the crossing. For the swim, she greases her body with a heavy mixture of lard and petroleum jelly to insulate her from the cold waters. She wears goggles to keep the salt water out of her eyes. In addition, she will be the first person to swim the crawl instead of the breaststroke used by previous swimmers. It is August 18th, 1925. After being in the water for 8 hours and 46 minutes and only 6 miles from the shores of Dover, a wave engulfs her and she swallows some water. Her coach, fearing she is collapsing, pulls her out.
As soon as they touch her, she's disqualified, and that's what they did, you know. And they hold her up into this rowboat, and she had the angriest look on her face because she was forced to stop. She was very annoyed about that because she felt that she was strong enough to go on and to be forced out. You know, she just couldn't forget things like that.
Dejected and feeling betrayed after her failure, Gertrude Ederle decides to return home to New York to form a new strategy.